The UES Harmony glided through space like a silver arrow, its hull reflecting the distant starlight of the Carina Nebula. Captain James Marsh stood at the bridge's main viewport, his weathered eyes fixed on the massive Meridian station that loomed ahead. After 50 years of cold peace between humanity and the Meridian Collective, this would be the first official diplomatic meeting between their species. "Status report," Marsh commanded, his voice steady despite the tension that filled the bridge. Commander Wizong consulted his holographic display. "Meridian defense grid is active but not targeting us. They're maintaining the agreed-upon distance. Any sign they're scanning our weapon systems?" "Negative, Captain. Though their energy readings are unusual." Marsh nodded, keeping his expression neutral. The Meridians were known for their advanced energy manipulation technology, but something about these readings felt wrong. He'd learned to trust his instincts during 15 years of Deep Space Command. "Captain," Lieutenant Marcus Roth called from his security station. "Incoming transmission from the Meridian station." On screen, the viewport shifted, revealing the alien face of Sentinel J6. Like all Meridians, his crystalline skin seemed to pulse with internal light, and his 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern studied him with unnerving intensity. "Captain Marsh." J6's translated voice emerged smooth and melodious. "Welcome to Outpost Zenith. We are prepared to receive your diplomatic team." "Sentinel J6, we appreciate your hospitality. Our shuttle will launch in." A blinding flash cut through space between the Harmony and the station. Alarms blared as both vessels automatically raised their shields. "Multiple unknown vessels decloaking," Roth shouted. "Energy signatures don't match any known configuration." 3 sleek ships had appeared, their hulls covered in some kind of light-absorbing material that made them look like tears in space itself. They opened fire simultaneously, their weapons striking both the Harmony and the Meridian station with precise coordination. "Return fire," Marsh ordered, but the unknown vessels were already moving, using the chaos they'd created to launch what appeared to be boarding pods toward both the human ship and alien station. "Captain," Wei's voice was urgent, "the Meridian station's primary shield generator is failing. Their defensive grid is offline." Marsh made a split-second decision that would change the course of human-Meridian relations forever. "Roth, extend our shields around the station's vulnerable sections." "Wei, get me Sentinel J6 back on screen." The Meridian commander's face appeared, his crystalline features now crackling with barely contained energy, their equivalent of human anxiety. "Sentinel," Marsh spoke quickly, "we're under attack by an unknown force. They're trying to board both our vessels. I propose an immediate tactical alliance." There was a pause that felt like eternity as weapons fire continued to flash around them. Finally, J6 nodded. "Agreed, Captain. We are sending you our defensive codes now. Our warriors will coordinate with your security teams. Roth, link our tactical systems. Wei, get Dr. Santos up here. We'll need her xenobiological expertise if we're going to fight alongside the Meridians." As his crew rushed to comply, Marsh watched the unknown ships continue their assault. Whoever these attackers were, they had just made a serious mistake. They had assumed that human and Meridian distrust would prevent cooperation. Instead, they had given 2 proud species a common enemy. The real question was, who were they? And what did they want badly enough to risk starting an interstellar war? Lieutenant Marcus Roth moved silently through the damaged corridors of the Meridian station, his boots making no sound on the crystalline floor. Engineer Tivix glided beside him, the alien's bioluminescent skin providing just enough light to navigate the darkened passages. The attack had left large sections of the station running on emergency power, creating perfect cover for infiltrators, or for those hunting them. "The energy fluctuations are strongest this way," Tivix whispered, his translator barely audible. The Meridian engineer's upper eyes focused on a handheld scanner, while his lower pair watched their path. "Someone has accessed our primary power core." Roth checked his own readings, frowning at the data. These signatures matched the attacking ships, Looks like they left something behind. He tapped his comm unit. Roth to Captain Marsh. Sir, we found evidence of sabotage in the station's core systems. Understood, Lieutenant. Marsh's voice crackled through. The Meridian Council is demanding answers. Find me something concrete. The passage opened into a vast chamber filled with pulsing energy conduits. Meridian technology relied heavily on crystalline structures that channeled power through the station, like blood through veins. Now those veins were infected with something alien. There, Tivix pointed with one of his 4 arms. A small device had been attached to a primary conduit, its surface as black as space itself. That shouldn't be there. Roth approached carefully, scanning the device. It's similar to the stealth technology those ships used. Some kind of energy absorption matrix. He looked at Tivix. Could this have been installed before the attack? The engineer's skin flickered with patterns that Roth had learned indicated deep concern. These systems are checked daily. This is new, but... He hesitated. But... The installation required intimate knowledge of our technology. Knowledge few outside the collective possess. The implications were disturbing. An inside job. Roth kept his voice neutral, aware of the delicacy of the situation. That would explain how they knew exactly when to attack. A new voice said from the shadows. Dr. Helena Santos stepped into view, her xenobiology scanner humming softly. I've been analyzing the attack pattern. They struck precisely when both our shields were calibrating for diplomatic protocols. Tivix's skin pulsed with agitation. You suspect Meridian involvement. I suspect, Santos said carefully, that someone wants our species to blame each other. The timing, the technology. It's all too perfect. Roth was about to respond when his tactical scanner beeped. Movement in the maintenance shafts. Multiple signatures. He drew his weapon. Tivix, can you lock down this section? The engineer moved to a control panel, but as his fingers touched the crystal interface, the lights went out. Emergency barriers slammed down, sealing them in the core chamber. Trap, Roth muttered, taking cover behind a power conduit. Santos followed suit, while Tivix's skin dimmed to near darkness. The maintenance shaft covers burst open. Dark figures poured out, wearing armor that seemed to drink in what little light remained. Their weapons were raised, but they didn't fire immediately. They'd wanted something. The device, one of them said in an electronically distorted voice. Hand it over, and you might survive this. Roth noticed something odd about their movement patterns. Santos, he whispered. Are you seeing this? The xenobiologist nodded slightly. Their gait. It's all wrong. Those aren't Meridian or human bodies under that armor. A third species. One that had orchestrated this entire conflict. But why? Last chance, the leader said. The device now. Roth's mind raced. They were outnumbered, but he had one advantage. Tivix. The Meridian engineer's natural bioluminescence had seemed like a liability. But now... Actually, Roth said loudly, I have a counteroffer. He fired a single shot at the ceiling, the energy blast reflecting off the crystalline surface in a wild pattern. At the same moment, Tivix flared his skin to maximum brightness. The combination of weapons fire and sudden intense light created a strobing effect that overwhelmed the attackers' enhanced visual systems. They staggered, their light-absorbing armor working against them by trying to process the rapid changes in illumination. Santos seized the moment, throwing a canister of xenobiological marking compound. The substance stuck to the attacker's armor, negating its stealth properties. Suddenly visible and disoriented, they made easy targets for Roth's precise shots. The fight was over in seconds. Most of the attackers fled back into the maintenance shafts, but one lay wounded on the floor. As Roth approached, the being's helmet retracted, revealing a face that made both humans and Tivix step back in shock. By the first light, Tivix whispered, his skin pulsing with patterns Roth had never seen before. That's impossible. They were supposed to be extinct. The creature's silver-scaled face twisted into what might have been a smile. "We were supposed to be many things," it hissed through sharp teeth. "Now we are your doom. The legacy of the precursors will be reclaimed." Before anyone could stop it, the creature triggered something on its armor. Its body dissolved into a shower of sparks, leaving them with more questions than answers. "Lieutenant Roth to Captain Marsh," he called over the comm. "Sir, you need to see this. The situation just got a lot more complicated." In the depths of space, more dark ships were gathering, their hulls absorbing starlight as they prepared for the next phase of their ancient vendetta. The asteroid field stretched before them like a graveyard of shattered worlds. Captain Marsh stood on the Harmony's bridge, watching as chunks of ancient rock tumbled through the void. Behind him, Sentinel J6's crystalline form glowed with an intensity that matched the tension in the room. "The trail leads there?" Marsh asked, gesturing to a particularly dense cluster of asteroids. "Yes," Dr. Santos confirmed, her eyes fixed on her scanner readings. "The radiation signature from their stealth drives leaves a trace our combined sensors can detect. They're not as invisible as they thought." The Joint Human Meridian Task Force had been pursuing the mysterious attackers for 12 hours. After the revelation that they were dealing with survivors of a supposedly extinct species, the original builders of many ruins both humans and Meridians had discovered, the mission had taken on new urgency. "Their ships are gathering," Commander Wei reported from his station. "At least 7 vessels detected within the asteroid field." J6 moved closer to the tactical display, his 4 eyes focusing on different areas simultaneously. "This formation, I've seen it before, in ancient records. They're preparing for a starweave maneuver." "Explain," Marsh commanded. "Their ships will link their stealth fields, creating a web of dark space. Any vessel caught within it will be pulled out of normal spacetime." The Meridian's skin flickered with concern. No one has survived such an encounter. Lieutenant Roth, who had been quietly analyzing defense patterns, spoke up. "Captain, look at the asteroid patterns. They're too uniform." Engineer Tivix, who had joined them on the bridge, immediately began running calculations. "These aren't natural formations. This entire field is artificial, a constructed battlefield." "A trap," Marsh concluded, "but not for us. Not specifically." He turned to J6. "Your people have been studying precursor ruins for centuries. What would they want here?" The Sentinel's crystalline features shifted in what Marsh had learned was their equivalent of deep thought. There were rumors, stories of a great repository, a library of their civilization's knowledge and power. We never found it. And now they're back to reclaim it, Santos added. But why reveal themselves now? Why not stay hidden? A sudden alert from Way Station interrupted them. "Captain, energy spike from the asteroid field. They're powering up something massive." The view screen showed it, a web of dark energy beginning to spread between the enemy vessels, turning that section of space into an absolute void. As they watched, asteroids caught in the effect simply vanished. "All ships, fall back," Marsh ordered. But before anyone could act, Tivix made a sound of surprise. "The patterns. Captain, Sentinel, look at how they're positioning their ships. It's not just a trap, it's a key." Roth caught on first. "They're not trying to attack us. They're using the starweave to open something." "The repository," J6 whispered. "It was here all along, hidden in dark space." The void between the enemy ships grew, and something began to emerge, a massive structure, angular and black, its surface covered in the same light-absorbing material as the attacking vessels. It was easily twice the size of the Meridian station. "We can't let them access that kind of power," Marsh stated. "Not after they've already proven hostile." He turned to his unlikely allies. "I have a plan, but it's going to require perfect coordination between our forces." J6's skin pulsed with what Marsh now recognized as determination. "We are listening, Captain. Their stealth technology absorbs energy, but everything has a limit. Tivix, if we reconfigured the Harmony's main cannon to fire in sync with the Meridian ship's crystal beams, The engineer's eyes widened. The combined energy output would overwhelm their absorption matrix. But the timing would have to be precise. A millisecond off, and the effect fails. And we'd only get one shot, Roth added. They'd adapt their shields after that. Santos, who had been quiet, suddenly straightened. The marking compound we used in the station. If we could disperse it through their starwave, it would disrupt the entire pattern, Tivix finished. But we'd need to get close, very close. Marsh looked at the tactical display, then at J6. In the Sentinel's alien features, he saw the same resolve he felt. Their species had spent decades distrusting each other, but now they had to move as one. Helm, plot an attack course, Marsh ordered. All hands, battle stations. Sentinel, signal your fleet. Let's show these precursors how the younger races fight. As the Harmony moved forward, leading the joint fleet into position, the dark ships ahead began to react. The time for secrets and shadows was over. Now it would come down to courage, skill, and the newfound trust between former rivals. The real battle for the future was about to begin. Space itself seemed to bend as the combined fleet executed their desperate plan. The Harmony's main cannon fired in perfect synchronization with the Meridian vessel's crystal beams, their energy streams converging into a single point. Behind them, Dr. Santos' modified marking compound dispersed in a glittering cloud through their wake. Energy output at maximum, Commander Way reported, his hands dancing across the controls. The starweave is beginning to destabilize. Captain Marsh watched as their combined assault struck the dark energy web. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks of normal space began to appear in the void, spreading like lightning through storm clouds. Their ships are breaking formation, Lieutenant Roth called out. The starweave is collapsing. On the bridge's main screen, they could see the massive precursor structure starting to fade back into dark space. But before it could vanish completely, Sentinel J6 made his move. Now, Tivix, the Meridian commander ordered. Engineer Tivix, who had been monitoring the energy patterns, activated a device they'd hastily constructed from the sabotage unit found on the station. A pulse of inverse energy shot out, catching the ancient repository in a web of light. "It's working," Santos exclaimed. "The structure's quantum signature is stabilizing." The precursor ships, realizing their prize was being stolen from them, turned to attack. But they'd committed too many ships to maintaining the starwave. Now, scattered and disrupted, they faced a unified force that had learned to work as one. "All vessels, engage at will," Marsh commanded. "Don't let them regroup." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human or Meridian history. The two species' ships moved in perfect complement, human vessels providing cover, while Meridian ships used their crystal technology to disrupt the precursor's stealth systems. What had started as an uneasy diplomatic meeting had become a seamless dance of cooperation. But the precursors had one final card to play. "Captain." Way's voice cut through the chaos. "The repository, it's powering up." Before anyone could react, a beam of pure darkness shot from the ancient structure, cutting through space toward the Harmony. But J6 was faster. The Sentinel's ship intercepted the beam, its crystalline hull redirecting the energy through its matrix. "J6, Marsh shouted, watching as the Meridian vessel's hull began to crack under the strain. "The crystal lattice can't hold it," Tivix warned. "It's too much power." "Then let's give it somewhere to go," Marsh decided. "Roth, target the largest precursor vessel. Santos, calculate a trajectory that will use their own stealth technology against them." Understanding dawned in J6's four eyes. Yes, their absorption matrices, if overloaded. "Exactly," Marsh confirmed. "Tivix, can you modify the crystal matrix to channel that energy?" The engineer's skin pulsed with excitement. "Yes, but we'll only have seconds before the lattice fails completely." "That's all we need. All ships, clear a path to the precursor command vessel." "J6 on my mark." The combined fleet moved with precision, herding the dark ships into position. The precursor vessel, Atoll, still drinking in light and energy, never saw the real threat until it was too late. Now, J6's ship released the channeled energy directly into the precursor vessel's absorption matrix. For a split second, the dark ship seemed to glow from within. Then it detonated in a cascade of light and shadow. The explosion set off a chain reaction through the remaining precursor fleet, their interconnected stealth systems becoming their downfall. As the last enemy ship vanished in a flash of dark space energy, the ancient repository hung suspended in normal space, no longer hidden but not yet understood. Hours later, in the Harmony's conference room, human and Meridian leaders gathered to discuss what they'd found. The repository's databases were vast, containing knowledge that could advance both their civilizations by centuries. The precursors believed themselves the only ones worthy of their legacy, J6 explained, examining the data streams. They saw our species as usurpers, unworthy of the stars themselves. But in trying to destroy us, they gave us something greater, Marsh added. They forced us to look past our differences and work together. Santos, who had been studying the repository's biological data, looked up. There's more. According to these records, the precursors didn't die out naturally. They tried to absorb too much power, too quickly. Their hunger for energy eventually consumed them, a fate we can avoid. Tivix noted, by sharing this knowledge, working together to understand it properly. Marsh stood, facing the assembled leaders. Then let's make it official. Not just an alliance of necessity, but a true partnership between our peoples. J6's crystalline form glowed with approval. The Meridian Collective agrees. Let this repository become the foundation of our combined future. As the leaders began discussing the specifics of their new accord, Marsh gazed out at the stars. The precursors had hidden in darkness, trying to keep their power for themselves. But the real strength, he now knew, lay in the light created when different peoples chose to shine together. The diplomatic dance had become something more, a fusion of cultures, technologies, and hopes. And in the vast repository hanging silently in space, the next chapter of their shared story waited to begin.